Hey everyone, it's Sandra, and you're listening to the Talk Carby to Me podcast.
All right, we're live.
What's up, everyone?
Yeah, welcome back. Welcome back to the U.S.
Thank you. She's back in action.
How long were you in Germany for?
Almost 3 weeks, or exactly 3 weeks.
Yeah, how was that?
It was great. We should have stayed. I've been on a path of destruction since I've been back, accidentally destroying things right and left. No, but
Yeah,
it was really, really great. But there's like a freaking heat wave going on, so we got out like at the nicks of time.
heat wave in Germany.
In Europe in general,
Mm,
yeah, like it's just hot. And they're not like big like air conditioning people over there. So like when it's hot, it's hot. It's hot everywhere. And I don't enjoy the heat that much.
it's kind of
My
like it's kind of like summertime. It's usually hot places. What do you know?
Yeah, I know, but I like my air conditioning. I have decided that I will no longer tolerate things without air conditioning anymore. So moving forward, I'm going to plan my trips around the temperatures
Like your trips anywhere or your trips?
anywhere. Like if there's no air conditioning and it's going to be really hot, like I will probably have to reschedule my trip. Like we just made it do this trip around, but there were like we were in Milan for a few days and it was really, really hot. And we ended up booking an Airbnb for other reasons as well, but in part also too because we needed air conditioning. And we set that air conditioning so low, the owner's probably like, "What the hell is wrong with these people?" But we opened that door up and we're like, "Oh, America!" There's just no air conditioning anywhere. You just cannot cool down anywhere.
I can relate.
Yeah, you work out in a sauna.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Adds unintended variables to the workouts.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, are you taking like an electrolyte replacement to help your situation?
I usually have electrolytes frequently, um,
Okay.
but not lately. So feeling that a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it probably just like completely destroys you by the time you're done working, right?
Yeah, the working out and it's not the worst part. It's the like if you're there working for 5 hours, it kind of gets to you.
Do you ever just go sit in your car and blast the AC?
No,
Hmm.
I'll go outside, but I don't really. I don't need like a cooling station. I'll just die if it comes to it.
I need a cooling station. I'm a princess when it comes to those things.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah. I thought last year was just because I was pregnant, but that's not the case. I'm generally like this.
Yeah, the humidity is the thing that gets me the most. That's been brutal. Like I'm okay. Like whatever, it can be hot. Like I went to basic training in Georgia in the summertime. Like
That's
that's
a
a whole
situation.
like it's weather and you have gear and all that stuff. So like it's not the worst thing I've ever gone through, but just when it's outside, when you're outside and you're like being warmly embraced by like a cloud of mist, just very uncomfortable. Everything is sticky and ugh.
Yeah, it does make it worse. Like dry heat, like out in Vegas, like that is a little bit more bearable because you don't feel yourself like, I don't know, sweating, I guess. It's hot, but you're not like you don't feel as much like you're sweating like you do in the humidity.
Yeah. Well, you don't
It's
even
like
have to. You don't even have to sweat in humidity to be sweating.
this is true. You just naturally just start dripping.
Yeah.
Everything starts dripping.
Yeah. You just walk outside and it's like boom, moist.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
But even in this heat, I'm still doing my sauna sessions at my in-laws. And
Yeah.
they're still amazing. The only thing is like we can't cool down enough in between sessions. So it's been a little bit rougher.
So do you do sauna and ice bath like within the same like hour?
Yeah, so basically I try to do like 15 to 20 minutes in the sauna and the temperatures are like over 200 Fahrenheit. So it does get really toasty in there. And then I like to cool off afterwards. It's not like a true ice bath, like it's not like ice cubes like remain their form in the water, but it does get pretty cold. So in the winter, obviously it's way colder in the pool, but it's not like naturally cooled yet. My father-in-law is going to get a cooling mechanism in the next couple weeks, so it'll actually cool down. But like either the garden hose or something, like just like something to shock your system, and then you just lay out for like 10 minutes, and then you do the whole thing over again. And it's like you get like an awesome high, your body relaxes. Like I can just like notice if I'm like really stressed out or really emotional, I hop into the sauna, and it's like my emotions just like sweat out of my body. It's awesome.
Sweating out emotions. Heard it here first.
Yeah, I 10 out of 10 I recommend.
So, something that you might find interesting, the FDA has been busy.
Yes, they have.
And before we touch on that, the WHO also has been busy, and they're also linked. So, a topic that often we've chatted about. So, aspartame was labeled as a possible carcinogen by the WHO, which the WHO being not the band, the World Health Organization.
Yeah, I find that super super interesting that, like it's been around for so long that suddenly now it's being recognized as a possible carcinogen. I find that very interesting and curious. But also at the same time, I think it's like no surprise. Like as I always say, like some things are just too good to be true, and like a 0 calorie sweetener to me is just too good to be true.
So you're on the side of it's bad.
Of the So in terms of aspartame, yes, I can't say the same thing about other 0 calorie sweeteners, but in terms of aspartame, like I think like yeah, I stand behind, like if the World Health Organization is going to call a possible carcinogen, like there's something to read into that.
So do you trust the World Health Organization?
Yeah,
Interesting. Judging by my response, you can tell that I do not.
I figured from the sound
Yeah,
of it.
if you pretty much if you they lost me in 2020 somewhere, and you can connect those dots. But that's the same organization there. The curious thing is where they classed it as a possible carcinogen is in the same category as pickled vegetables and smartphones. And obviously, with the carcinogen factor, what they're really saying is this can cause cancer. The FDA actually disagreed with them when they put this out, but they were referencing studies which do show a link to cancer in aspartame, as long as it's in vitro, obviously, because you wouldn't be able to test this on a human because it would be what's the word, inhumane. That it's like 900 times the actual dose for it to get to that point. But technically, if you were to do that for long enough, so that'd be like if you had 11 to 12 cans of soda a day that had some form of it. After a long time, you could probably give yourself cancer if you wanted to. But yeah, I found that super interesting. The war against aspartame continues.
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting because like they say that basically you want to limit your daily consumption to about 40 milligrams per kilogram of your body weight, or 40 milligrams per 2.2 pounds of your body weight. Anything over than that, like I guess puts you more in that area that you would not want to be in according to them. So like if you weigh like 132 pounds, right, you would need to drink about 12 cans of diet soda. Which if you think about it, like, okay, do the most people really drink 12 cans of diet soda in a day? I don't know. I'm going to say right now, no, that most people don't, but there are always a select few. But then you also have to look into like what other products maybe are you consuming where aspartame is in there, right? So it can, it's just like something to note and to look into, I think. But yeah, I'm not going to be buying aspartame containing products moving forward. You
I like
also have
it.
to look into gum. Gum also has aspartame in it.
You still chew gum?
No, I killed the habit because when you're pregnant, you're not supposed to consume so much aspartame, actually. Yeah, so I would only like every so often like have gum if like it was just like laying around and I was really in the mood for some gum. Sound like an addict. But yeah, I really stopped chewing as much gum because of that already.
Yeah, I used to chew a lot of gum back in the school days. Gum back in the day was like a political currency. Like
Really?
you could gain favor, like if you were the dude that had gum, like, and you became the gum guy, and then you needed something, and you're always the guy that has gum. Like that's a good spot to be in when you're like in middle school.
Right. But then at the same time, like you're always that person, like, you gotta like constantly stock up on gum.
Yeah,
It's like a
yeah.
job.
stimulating the economy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One gum packet at a time.
yeah. Lord knows someone needs to do it.
Yeah, but I always like find it interesting, like the FDA, like they're always very conservative about how they approach, certain preservatives or like chemical ingredients and stuff like that. And versus, like, for instance, in Europe, they have a way, like if anything could potentially cause something, they basically say, okay, you're not allowed to use it. Versus in the US, they're like, well, yeah, but it's only if you consume a lot of it that it's bad. So it's fine if it's in moderation. And that's a little bit more the FDA stance in comparison.
Yeah, I think the FDA should be revamped, or just be completely defunded.
I think there is definitely some room for improvement within the FDA. I mean, the United States is definitely better with the FDA than it was before the FDA was in place. Because shit was crazy before the FDA was in place. Like, you just did not know what was in your products. Like, there was no control over anything. Like, I mean, if you do some research about life before the FDA, like, there's a reason why they're in place, because shit got weird. But at the same time, like, they still have a lot of areas of opportunities, to put it nicely.
Yeah, I understand the intent of the FDA, but they are in charge of assessing what's good to eat, or healthy foods to a degree, in a country with a 70% overweight population. So somewhere along the lines, they stopped doing their job.
Yeah. I mean, also, too, like, there are a lot of industries that are very much connected to the FDA, right? Like sugar, corn syrup, like a lot of industries are very tightly connected with the FDA. And, it doesn't take a lot to look into that and seeing where, maybe some favoritism is being played.
They're in cahoots.
You said it, but yeah.
Oh no, they actually are.
Yeah.
If you look
It's,
if you look at all our government agencies, they're all in
oh,
cahoots. Otherwise, like, we wouldn't have like the giants that we have. So you look at the energy sector. That we know, if we're so concerned with climate change and fossil fuels, then the oil sector wouldn't be so insanely profitable. Where we would find, like, we have the technology to replace it already. We just don't focus on it.
yeah. Even if you
It's,
look in, oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, and then when you look towards the food industry, like, you kind of know the answer. If you stick to mostly whole food stuff, you kind of eliminate all those other problems, or most of those other problems, I should say. And yet still, you have all these, tons of shenanigans that go on, as far as like, oh, you can kind of have some of this, kind of have some, like, just draw the line and let the people choose, and so on and so forth. But
Yeah, I mean, you can even look at even the hemp industry too, right? Like, there was a point where, like, hemp was a more widely used source for, like, I believe it was like for rope and stuff like that. And I don't know, things changed eventually when the cotton industry took over a little bit more. But there's a lot of things one can do with hemp that just aren't being done because of that.
there's like 7 billion things that can be done with hemp. Like, not that I would ever do anything with hemp, but sometimes, I see someone doing something with hemp, and I'm like, oh, I didn't never really never figured it to be that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's for sure. Yeah, I think, like, the cool part is about, like, being in, like, living at this time in our lives is you get to see the connections to, government agencies and these different industries and stuff like that. But at the same time, it just takes away any trust you might have possibly have had.
Yeah, that's been the theme. It's
Yeah.
been the theme of like the last, 3.5, 4 years, with just literally every organization on earth. Like, I don't think there's one major organization that has not fallen under some scrutiny to this point.
Yeah. I mean, I can't think of any right now that didn't fall underneath the scrutiny, but yeah. I mean, at the same time, I think it's good to show the connections to the different industries. And at the same time, like, it just, I don't know, like, as you just have to do your own research and things, but doing a bunch of research takes time as well.
Yeah, and also, I mean, and then it goes into, there's not really a great place to research, because everything has a spin on it to a degree, whether from whatever side.
Yeah. It's even hard enough to get access to, like, to studies. If you want to think like, unless you're in college, that's like your only time you're getting quote unquote free access to a whole database of studies. You could go into PubMed and all those places, right? But at the same time, like, it's just hard to get your hands on proper research too. And even the research that is published, I mean, that's also biased within itself too, because not all research studies are being published.
Yeah, it's you can definitely find them, most of them. It's kind of like trying to find a good audio track on LimeWire back in the day, though. Like one of them's got a virus, one of them's not real, one of them's just like something completely different. One of them's going to destroy your parents' computer. But once you can dig through it pretty good to get to
Yeah, if you're
some of
willing,
the stuff, if you're willing, of course.
if
It
you're
does.
willing to put in all that time.
Yeah, it does take time. Sometimes when I'm looking up stuff or like I see something and I'll just like look into it a little bit and I'll check for studies and things like that. It's like a drag searching for them.
I agree. Yeah. It really is a drag sometimes. And then it's like, okay, whatever. Like, I'll just consume said product then and just hope for the best.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty much. I mean,
Yeah.
that's about what most people are doing. Most people are winging it, and you can kind of see how that's going.
Yeah.
They also so something that's been burning a hole in my brain has been the approval of lab grown meat. We've talked about this before on here, but now it's real. So it started out in Singapore with a couple companies, and they were doing it only in restaurants, and it's like $50 for an order of chicken nuggets. And it's super super expensive. Apparently, they're making it cheaper. Right. Initially, it was like 300K for a burger. Now it's down to somewhere around like 50, $60, something like that.
For a
And
burger.
that's like a quarter pound burger. That's not like a hefty burger.
Woof.
And so the FDA recently just approved it for commercial use as good and safe to eat.
Yeah. A lot of questions around that one.
Yeah. So how we got here is beyond me. I think this is like the grossest thing of all time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm cool with us like cultivating organs for like organ transplants, but like, are we gonna grow food now that way in a lab? I don't know, especially like meat. Like, of all the things to start off with, like, couldn't we have like just started off with like, I don't know, like a potato or something like that? But like, why we had to go down the meat side already of things? I don't know. It just makes them more disgusting, in my opinion. Like, it's kind of gross.
Yeah. The like it's just gross. Like, so if you see how it's made, so basically how it's made, if you've ever been to a brewery and you see those big vats, right? They're like scientific versions of that. And what they do is they take cells from a chicken, right? So chicken, when they say lab grown meat, right now it's chicken is the only one that will be available. They take the cells from chickens, they put them in that vat, petri dish, container, whatever you want to call it, and they feed it nutrients that it would have eaten, and it eventually the cells grow, multiply, and it turns into edible chicken. And then they've the pictures that they've shown of it, it looks like chicken, right? I've seen like a fried chicken sandwich, I've seen like a grilled chicken like salad, and they can go ahead and just manufacture it. Now, obviously, these plants cost a shit ton of money, which is why you have the cost of per pound right now, as far as that meat's so high. So obviously, that's going to have to come down. And like right now, it's just that. But I was reading about they're also working on beef, lobster, fish, and the scary thing about it is beef will be the next one, so they can make a steak. And the way they grow it, according to them, it has all the same nutritional components that it would have if it was if you went to a farm, killed the cattle, turned it into a steak, and ate it. The concern here is that they acknowledge that they have the ability to take a piece of beef that they grew into a steak in a container with the nutritional profile of salmon.
Ew, really?
Yeah, they have that ability. And according to what like a spokesperson said, it's not a perfect thing yet, but they know that they can do it. So you could have like people who don't eat red meat, for instance, right? There's tons of people that don't eat red meat for whatever reason, but they eat chicken or fish or like a pescatarian. some of those some of those meats you're going to be missing some amino acid diversity, right? So or variety, I should say. So they can have that chicken with the nutritional profile of a steak, or steak with the nutritional profile of salmon, which is fucking insane.
That's wild. So it's kind of like, looks like beef, tastes like salmon. Enjoy, folks.
Yeah,
That is wild. I mean, that's. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see like what comes of it if people are really interested in that. But given like the whole Impossible Burger kind of situation, I'm gonna think that people are gonna love the fact that they can have a maybe like a burger made out of salmon, but it tastes like a burger, for instance. I'm sure it goes both ways. That you can make salmon taste like beef too.
yeah. I'm gonna go on record here. Salmon burgers are awful, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of those either. I've tried them multiple times. Like I really wanted to love fish burgers, but I don't. But a grouper sandwich is amazing.
Yeah, just keep it in its regular form. It's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had signed up for Butcher Box, and they were like, "Oh, free salmon burgers forever." Like, cool. I'll take that promotion. What could go wrong? Everything went wrong. Like,
Oh my god.
so much went wrong. It was absolutely horrific.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of them either. But yeah, I mean, there are like some pluses to the lab grown meat, right? That I can get behind. Like, there's little use of antibiotics when having to do with there's little use of other medicines that that animals would typically have to get that wouldn't be infused then in the lab grown meat. So that's really cool. I do like that idea. I like the idea that they claim right now that would help cut down on greenhouse gases and all these great things. But at the same time, like, we're still having to build plants and all of that. Like, where's the trade-off here? But, whatever, that does still all sound great. I like the fact that, animals may not be so tortured, to help supply the food chain. So
Can I
ours
stop
like,
you? Can I stop you on that sentence?
sure.
Have you ever seen a deer get attacked by a bear, a lion, some kind of gazelle thing, get attacked by an alligator, anything like that? Have you ever watched a video of that
Yes.
happening? So the animal kingdom is far more savage than most. To say this correctly, it's far more savage than most of the upstanding the meat producing parts of our industry. Like, so if you have like an organic farm and they pride themselves on humanely doing stuff, it's far less savage than watching what actually happens to a deer in nature.
Okay, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit on this one because the deer being chased down by an alligator and being savagely murdered, it's like, whatever. Let it be an event of a couple of hours. Okay, let it even be a day. Let's even say whatever bleeds to death for some reason. Okay, it might even take 24 hours. But, the whole like conventional meat, the way those animals get like moved around on these belts and all of that, I mean, that's like that animal's entire lifespan. So it's like days and weeks and weeks and weeks of it, which I find horrible and horrifying. Like even now when I was in Germany, like every time I come back, I'm like so motivated to like find a farmer that like treats their animals well because I hate seeing how like when I used to live there, you'd see so many cows on the field, cows that were going to end up, in the food chain, right? And now they're just all in their stables. And mind you, they look way nicer than whatever you would see, in like true conventional farming. But they're just like stuck in this like one little position there. They get to stand up and they get to sit down. And that's basically all they do for their whole entire life. And I find that really sad.
Yeah, I mean, do I? So obviously, there's some horrible practices like that. The meat industry can be horrific depending where you're looking, and it's pretty much widespread. It's not like anyone's immune from it. Some places do tend to lean a little bit better on the more humane side, but in my opinion, the deer is going to get absolutely demolished by some creature, or the gazelle is going to get annihilated. I mean, I saw a video the other day of an alligator just drag a deer down into the bottom of this like lake type pond thing, and like someone was happened to be there and have it on camera, and it just drowned the deer. It didn't even eat, like chew it, kill it with its teeth. It just drowned it and just kind of sat on it, and like the poor thing looked like Bambi. And it's like, oh, but that's kind of like the laws of the animal kingdom realistically. Like, so when you say like I get like, they're sitting there and they can't really do much. Um, and so I agree with you there. But also, like if you have like farm raised, grass fed, and they're taken care of, and someone who leans more towards like raising them correctly and all that stuff, like it's actually, in my opinion, it's better than being torn apart by a lion. Like I would rather, if it was my turn to die, rather than being like sawed in half by someone with a chainsaw, just give me a little injection, I'm done, and take me away, use my body for science.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with you there. Like, if one can raise cattle humanely, right? They're not just like on this like conveyor belt of life, then for sure, obviously, I think hands down that is way better than the animal kingdom. But at the same time, like, I mean, if oh, I can't even Google it. There's like horrifying images I've seen around it, and it's just awful. I mean, they'll make anybody want to go vegan. These images.
So, well, that's why that's why they get put out in documentaries. Some of the bad ones, I mean, like obviously, like you have like the chicken farms can be pretty bad, where
Mhm.
the ones where they make artificially significantly larger. So like obviously if you look at a chicken's legs, they don't do leg day. They're very, very skinny and they can barely walk. So like they topple over. So their wings and their legs don't grow fast enough to support their body. So they're just like this huge piece of chicken breast with that just like can barely move and stuff like that. Some of that stuff is pretty brutal. And not all chicken farms are like that. I think if you look at like the size of chickens that you're seeing in grocery stores, especially if you're looking towards like, whole food sources, like a whole food kind of specific one, or like if it's organic, you see them, they're a little bit smaller than, back in the day, you have like these massive birds that you could just buy. So some of that stuff goes. I mean, farm raised fish also, I agree with you there. Farm raised fish is just awful looking.
Yeah. No, it really is. I mean, also too with the whole like obviously like good efforts are being made. Like if for instance, if you're trying to go buy eggs, which there's so many different kinds of eggs that you can buy. You got like the free range and like the outdoor space kind, right? But yeah, they might be free range, they might be outdoor space, but they might like throw a bunch of chickens into one little like free range outdoor space kind of thing and they can barely walk around too. So I don't know. I find the whole situation very challenging to navigate, to be honest. Because like
Yeah.
even grass fed, by the way, grass fed just means that they were fed grass like once in their lifetime. It doesn't mean that their entire lifetime they were fed grass. So if you want to truly look for grass fed, what you think of as grass fed beef, you have to look for grass fed, grass finished beef. Fun
Yeah.
fact, I just recently learned this like a couple months ago. I was like, God damn it. Like you just try to put, do good efforts for your body and like try to buy the best quality meat that you can. And like, it's still not good enough.
By that definition, I'm grass fed, by the way. Let's just put that out there. So should I ever die and someone feels the need to eat meat, I can certify that I am grass fed.
But are you grass finished?
Definitely not grass finished.
Yeah. So I don't know. So,
Does that mean that vegans are grass finished?
oh, interesting. Maybe,
They tend to have lower bone density, so it could be.
maybe, you never know. That could be the future.
Yeah. So my thing with it, right? So we get into synthetics. So one of the biggest synthetic concerns right now is AI. So if we have the ability to grow from chicken cells, right? Grow chicken. From beef, grow beef. Salmon and so on. I'm assuming lobster right there from what they say. So they already know that they can do this, right? They could probably do it for human meat, right? Now, function and nerves probably would be different. I haven't seen anything that really dived into that as far as looking at it from a function standpoint. But let's say they get to the point, actually, they're going to get to a point if they're doing it that like already here, and the industry is estimated to be by 2040 $13.7 billion, right? There's going to be money in there. There's going to be funding. Everyone's going to jump on board. There's going to be a way to create human meat, right? So does that lead to the point where we can get like, if you had your arm cut off by a bear or an alligator or some kind of accident, like can you grow your arm back and stuff like that? So that'd be pretty interesting to see where that goes. But when you look at AI as a whole, right? So if they get to that point and they grow a human that doesn't have consciousness, right? Because obviously I don't think that's something that we're ever going to be able to recreate. We take AI, like maybe on like a little flash drive, and we stick it into the human body that we just grew, and now it has AI consciousness. So technically, it's like iRobot with skin.
I
right?
was just thinking that iRobot.
And then that person existed, and they were just a person in society. Everyone would be like, "Oh my god, like you're not real. You're not a real person. Like this is abhorrent. Like you're not real at all." Yet they make meat, and it's like, "Oh yeah, this is great." Like absolutely, but you know what I mean? And I guess it's like it varies on like what level you kind of look at it as, but like it's the same conversation, and they're all the same road. Like
Yeah, I think that's a really good analogy that you just drew, actually, and I think I'm going to borrow that for moving forward. I think that's just like a really great like look of it to say, okay, like at what point do you feel like the boundary's being crossed?
yeah,
And I think like I probably that boundary is different for every person too. Like at what point is it too much for you? Similar with like the processed food conversation, like what you consider to be processed food is different to my definition too. And so we're just taking it one step further now to homegrown people.
yeah.
Where do we draw the line?
Oh yeah, because if you don't think it's going to happen eventually, especially if we can grow tissue from mammals already, like don't think that shit's not coming. Altered Carbon on Netflix. I'm not really a fan of season two. Season one of Altered Carbon on Netflix, great example of that. It's in the future. People have sleeves, and then your consciousness is installed on a little disc, and then so like everyone would have like a little slot on the back of their neck. So I would live in this body until this body was aged. I'd take my disc out and I'd put it into a different body, whatever, and they call them sleeves. Put it into a different one, and boom, I'm now that person. Uh,
Very interesting.
yeah, and like the funny thing is like you see those shows and you're like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But now you look at everything that's going on in the world, and you've got lab grown meat, right? Which, if you really look at it, technically it's the ability to reproduce mammals in a lab.
Mm.
And now you have Neuralink is making its way into human trials, right? So we talked about Neuralink before, right? It's the brain chip that goes, it can give you cognitive abilities such as regaining motor function, and even down the road it'll probably be able to communicate with others as far as like you have an operating system now, so like you could send like a text message with your mind, right?
Crazy.
All that stuff coming together is going to intersect at some point in the future, and you'll have the ability to create another synthetic thing that would freak everyone out. There's not a person alive that, like, if you created a AI into a human body and that was a consciousness, there's not a person alive that would not be like concerned about that. However, if we give you chicken nuggets synthetically, like it's the same, and like you can just manipulate the entire component of it, which is
Yeah.
insane.
I still stand by the stance that as of right now, again, my stance could change in the future as things keep developing. As of right now, whenever humans try to recreate something, it's never as good as the original. As of right now. So whenever we try to recreate nature, it's just never the same. And there's always consequences that come from it. So I'm kind of curious to see, like what happens from all of it, because I quite frankly don't 100% buy that lab grown meat is like nutritionally exactly the same as normal meat. Yes, they might tell me that, right? But I just still don't believe it yet.
I guess what I would see from it would be like, if you equate it, analogy form, if you equate it to maybe like a person who's never ever ever been sick, they've never been exposed to any kind of pathogen, virus, germ, sickness, or anything like that. It's just always been perfect. It doesn't have what's the word I'm looking for? The biodiversity, the antibodies, or the immune system that you would normally associate with something that just lives on this planet. That would be my guess. So let's say they are correct and take them at face value, which is a huge mistake for the record. But let's say it is, like, that's one component they're not going to do. Like, they're not going to have a vat of chicken, right, to create chicken breast and then expose it to like, oh, this germ, and how do you like have an immune system and things of that nature. So that's definitely going to change. That's going to be different than what you get when you have like the real thing.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad that you brought that up because that's something that I read when researching about this topic as well. Was like how like less diseases and whatever not that can possibly come from it, but it also at the same time means you also be exposed to less. So it's always like a catch 22. Similar with the whole like like hand sanitizer stuff, like yeah, that was a really great movement, and we do need hand sanitizer, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, like people that are chronically exposed to like these germ-free environments, their immune system is just so weak, and it makes you more susceptible to diseases that maybe other people who were like rolling around in dirt would be more immune to. So I don't know. I think the future is definitely going to be interesting. It's definitely, by the time we're 80 years old, the world's going to look way, way different. And our food supply system is going to look way, way different than it does right now, too.
Yeah. The concern that I would have down the road is that this is just going to further give them a crutch when they just randomly kill cattle, like they've been doing across the world. Which is weird because like the fact of the meat consumption kills the cattle anyway. So if the cattle are what's causing climate change, it seems like it's doing its thing.
Yeah. I mean, I know like the people love to like throw the whole, cattle industry into like causing like the whole greenhouse gas stuff, but I don't know. Listen, like I think there's a lot of worse things that we're doing to the planet besides, growing cattle for the greenhouse industry.
Yeah, one of the arguments for it is it'll help sustain the growing population of the planet, which
Yeah.
the headline for that sounds great. It sounds amazing. If you actually look at reproductive data from a lot of countries, it's not really a thing. Which is another scary part that we're probably not going to go too far into. But a lot of places are starting to experience that population decline for numerous factors, but low birth rates and more single folks are definitely leading to that. And I think Japan just crossed the threshold. We're on our way to it in the next 5 to 10 years. So it's not so much a thing where it's like, oh, we're going to run out of like the actual cows, or it doesn't look like it is. Like humans are about to be scarce.
Yeah, I find that such an interesting debate because I remember when we were young, it was like, what are we gonna do with all these billions of people on this planet? And everyone was freaking out about like how many people are gonna be on the planet. And now that it's reversing, everyone's freaking out all over again. But it's like if you look at it, like 20 years ago, isn't this kind of what you wanted?
It's not even like a freak out. Like, strangely, many places don't report on it. You just have like I happen to stumble across it and find it interesting with a couple of the psychologists that I follow that happen to be on that topic with other people. But like once you actually like look at the data and stuff like that, like it's very like the projection would be way off from what we would have figured like 20 years ago.
Yeah, at least when I was now in Germany, it was definitely more of a topic of conversation of like the low birth rates, at least in Germany, and how that's going to have like an economic impact too, and on the social systems that are in place. But also, China is facing issues too due to their one child policy that they had. Like now they have their own little situation too of like now their population is shrinking too, and what's that going to look like?
Yeah. Well, that's where AI comes in. Like, if you run out of people to run the simple jobs, AI is just gonna, hey, I can do this job, and then Terminator begins in real life.
Yeah, I mean, maybe less people on the planet is kind of like a good thing, and then we have our AI robots to do some other stuff, and like maybe overall, I think overall that it's a good way to go. We just got to figure out, the economic points of it.
What AI?
No, in terms of like, at least like in Germany, for instance, there's like certain social systems that are designed to be upheld by a growing population.
Oh, yeah. What they should do, and since we're on the topic of populations and like things and stuff like that, like RMVs, DMVs, make them self checkout like they do at the grocery store.
Yeah.
Right. That would make that process better. A lot of those like places where you go and you pay taxes like city hall and stuff like that, like you could eliminate most of that stuff.
A
um,
100%. A matter of fact, including going through customs. Like if you go to customs in Europe, for instance, and you're an EU citizen, you just scan your passport, you walk right through. I'm not even going to go into details of the nightmare that I went through on our flight back here, but it was awful, awful. And they only had 5 people employed for foreigners, visitors, and global services.
were you searched?
No, they didn't even have time. They don't have time to search you. These people are overwhelmed.
Well, yeah, you're coming into the United States. We don't give a fuck.
Actually, some people do get pulled out. It does still happen, but like if you look, I mean, if you're with a baby, you're like, all right, you're probably safe, right? But Yeah, I mean, it's just right now, it's really a frightening process to fly into this country.
Yeah, well, you came in from the right side of the country. If you come up from the south side, you don't have to worry about too much of that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm funny. That was a good one.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait a minute, that's not from my experience.
You just got to know the right people.
Yeah, right. Oh my god. Yeah. Anyway, I have a lot of stories about that, but we're gonna save that for a different day.
Yeah.
I don't want to get us too off topic.
So you're a new mom. You're back in the gym, back to what seems to be your normal rhythm. So how has that been going?
Yeah, good question. Not so much my normal rhythm yet. I'm still trying to find it. It's getting better. Also, like working out wise, things are getting better. But I think that plays mainly into that I can sleep more now, and like sleep is just everything, especially with recovery. So I can actually like do a workout, get basically enough sleep to next day to like actually only feel sore for one day, which that's huge improvement already.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Only remaining issue still remains that I need childcare. I need someone to watch the child
You
while I
need
go do.
you need a butler.
You know, it would be really great. That would be awesome, honestly, because quite frankly, like people, like I have significant amount of help in comparison to a lot of other people when it comes to my child, but still not enough. I still need more help so I can continue to do my life and build a career and continue to go to the gym. Like I would still love to have a little bit more help. But people that don't have any help whatsoever, like, oh, I feel for them. It is hard. Like your whole entire world and day is just like mine already revolves around my child, but that for sure like only revolves around your child.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine.
Honestly, it's really hard to imagine unless like you're in it. It really is. Like even me looking back at like what I thought this journey was going to be like, I was so naive. I don't want to
Which
discourage people from having kids. They're great, but I was
just
super naive.
just go out and just go out for milk one day and come back in about 4 years.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
Basically.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
I was going to ask something.
Huh?
I thought you were going to ask something.
No, I was letting you cook.
Oh, yeah. No. So basically, like my thing now is right now is like in terms of working out, like I'm just trying to get to the gym as often as possible. Like right now, there's not like a real routine that I have right now in terms of working out. It's like if I go, I'm just so pumped and I just try to do a whole body workout that day because who knows when I'm going to make it back to the gym next. That being said, it did occur to me, it might sound crazy, but it did occur to me, I could just work out at home as well. I know that sounds crazy that I didn't think about this earlier, but I could.
If you start making content where you're working out with the baby as the weight, I will judge you.
I did already do one video, and quite frankly, it's a brilliant idea. And there's not enough videos around that. Like I just want to follow someone showing me a workout of how I can interact with my child and still work out at the same time. Because that's really what you need. Like your baby needs constant like entertainment, and you're their source of entertainment.
If you treat him like a kettlebell, minus the swing and velocity, like don't do the ballistic movements, but just do everything that you would do with a kettlebell, you'd probably be the same. Probably wouldn't be much of a difference there.
Yeah, I've actually done that. I've lifted Tomas up for reps. And like it gets really tiring. Like the baby's like, 19 pounds now. Like it doesn't and I used to overhead press way more than 19 pounds, but it may just be the angle or like how you have to do it. But my God, you do like 15 reps and you're dying.
I mean, 15 reps is still a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like at this point right now, like I'm right now going more for volume because at least at home, I don't have enough weight to go for, for strength. Got to go for volume.
Yeah.
But yeah, something I'm looking into like building out like a home gym, but just running the cost versus doing a membership somewhere that has childcare. Like you gotta like just compare all those factors in there. And
Yeah.
it's hot.
Yeah, it is hot. It does you do get you do get some good options for childcare places, but not a lot of places have decent childcare.
That's the thing, you know? Like, I'm already nervous about leaving him with a stranger, let alone an environment that, like, I would not feel comfortable in.
Yeah.
But I mean, our local options, they're pricey, very pricey. People want their money to watch your baby.
Yeah, I think we definitely deserve a better brand of fitness lifestyle companies, in my opinion. So, uh,
Ditto. I ditto that.
yeah. Speaking of fitness and lifestyle, I this happened while you were gone. Did you see MSNBC's tweet?
No.
So MSNBC at the beginning of the month, they tweeted that like far right extremists are obsessed with fitness. Right? It's a behavior of the far right now.
No, get out of here.
Yeah. So if you read the article, which I will read for you. Initially lured with health tips and strategies for positive physical changes, new recruits are later invited to closed chat groups where far right content is shared.
What?
Right. So I would assume there's a little bit of truth here. Like maybe this does exist and people have experienced this. Because obviously they sell fentanyl through Snapchat somehow. Like I don't know, but apparently some
Huh.
people have experienced. You end up in a group that's like promoting Nazi shit or something like that. Um, but they're saying, but the way they like branded this article is like if you are into fitness, improving yourself, this is a far right extreme behavior. Um, which I found to be absolutely hilarious. So, like reading what I just read, that paragraph, like my first thought, like the first time that I read the article, so like I saw the headline, and obviously the headline like, is a big, go fuck yourself, MSNBC. But reading that, I'm like, oh, are they going to invite me to a group that shares memes? Like, I'm all for it. Like, any kind of meme. Like, just hit me with meme. That meme group that out of nowhere that I get invited to for working out all the time. Yes, sign me up.
I'm about the meme life too. But wait, so basically, are you saying that working out is a right leaning thing?
Yes, and they reference Adolf Hitler and he liked boxing and he liked fitness and he liked to make sure that his cronies, whatever you want to call them, were also fit and in shape. And that behavior becomes toxic masculinity and it's dangerous to society. That's where the article ends up going.
No fucking way.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. Okay, but like, what about all the yogis? Do they fall in this category?
The who?
The yogis, the vegan yogis.
Probably not. I don't think anyone's ever linked that. I don't. I'm sure someone has. I don't think I've ever come across anything that's like, oh, yoga is toxic.
Right. That is just crazy.
No.
I'm sorry. That's just, I don't even know what to say. I'm like perplexed right now.
Yeah. Well, like what a bold statement.
Yeah. Also, too, I don't know, like why does everything have to be categorized into like a political segment? Like, why does fitness, like, please leave fitness neutral? I didn't even think like fitness could not be neutral.
Right. So basically, it's like, oh, you might be a Nazi if you're working out. It's like, come on, like,
Jesus Christ.
let us have this thing.
Yeah. I mean, fitness itself is polarizing within like the different modalities and like whatever the science of it and whatever not. Strangely, you know, science can be polarizing, but like to make it now a political issue, that's frightening.
It's hilarious.
Yeah. I
I
guess
I
hilarious is a good way to see it too.
yeah, it's just absolute parody. And I mean, everything. It's easier to get clicks, bait people into stuff if there's some form of opposition and you're forced to choose a side. Like if you look at like all the different modalities in fitness, it's never just like, hey, here's all the things, pick the one that you enjoy. It's like if you do that, you suck and you're gonna get injured. If you do this, like you're gonna have body dysmorphia. If you go this route, you're gonna be chubby but strong. Like you know what I mean? And instead of just, like it always has to be like let's pit one against the other, and we have I think a lot of that has come from over the last 10 years what happens in our politics. Like our politics is the new um what's the word, it's like the new peanut gallery, kind of like you're just watching like a comedic show and it's no longer about like, hey, here's an idea, here's the other idea, which idea do you kind of vibe with. It's like there's this idea and that person also like stole this, that, and the third, and this person voted for like such and such, and this person when they were 15 like did that thing, and there's like it's like a reality TV show.
I
and
was
that's
just
how,
about to say that.
yeah, and that's how they kind of portrayed it, and that just has trickled down into like f- fascism and fitness, which is wild.
Yeah. I mean, it's like politics just shouldn't be a place. Like I want my politics to be like C-SPAN, the old school way. Like boring as fuck. Like I want to be monotone, boring. I don't need all the drama that comes with it, right? But like now it's just becoming like I mean, everyone's like tuning in. People across the world are tuning into United States politics, not just because out of like their own interest and global interest, but because it's entertaining.
Yeah, their ratings are shot though in the U.S. They get zero. They get almost nothing. So thankfully, it's a dying industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
They should take that writer strike and extend it into the into the news media. And to be clear, that's on both sides of the aisle.
Oh yeah. I mean, at this point, like it's no longer just like one party. It's everyone,
Yeah,
everyone, and even the people that are trying to be neutral. Like people that are trying to be neutral and like kind of like bring the old school politics back, or like the old trust in politics back. Like they're just I don't know. You don't even hear about them. They don't even make headlines.
they do on certain platforms. Substack, and Twitter are probably your best places to find
Okay,
independents that kind of doing that kind of work. But um,
fair.
yeah,
It's sad. It's sad the way things have gone. But who knows? There's opportunity maybe here.
no, there's no opportunity.
Anthony has no faith in the future. He's like, that's it. We're gone. We're done.
As someone who used to work for the government and then looking at the government now, I have no faith in the government. I have no faith, no trust, zero.
Ugh, sad, sad, sad.
Yeah, and you can throw all the government organizations in there. You can throw the IRS in there. You can throw the World Health Organization in there. You can throw the World Economic Forum in there. Like you can throw
Yeah,
NATO, the UN, all of them.
we're all
Zero
just
trust.
done. Yeah, yeah. Ah, sad world.
Mm,
Yeah. But have you ever heard anything about this? I have to like research his last name real quick. About this Brian guy who invented Venmo. Have you heard of him?
no,
He is reversing aging. He spent over $2 million on basically doing every single test and study like under the sun, and he has perfected some sort of formula now where he's reverse aging.
that's pretty dope.
Yeah, I highly recommend checking him out. His name is Brian Johnson, for the record. If you look him
Brian
up, yeah,
Johnson.
he looks so he doesn't go into the sun anymore, which makes him look like very I don't know, like not human anymore. But there's like really interesting like YouTube videos out there about what he does, and he takes like I don't know, I think 20 different kinds of supplements, or even if it's 4 different kinds of supplements a day. He's basically on a vegan diet, which I find super interesting. But yeah, he's reversed aging.
I'm looking him up right now. How old is
Yeah,
he?
I want to say he's like in his 40s.
Have you ever seen the Vampire Diaries?
No, but he looks like one.
Yeah, this dude looks like he could be the main villain.
He's 45.
And he does. So does he just come out at night if he doesn't go into the sun, or does he wear long sleeves?
He does wear a lot of long sleeves from all the things that I have seen. He does wear a lot of long sleeves. But he drinks like he has his whole diet written on the web on his website too. So like his big whatever new thing is called the blueprint. And he has like a blueprint about around his food, his supplements, different measurements that he's taking, even like his sleep. He's very transparent about what he does, and I mean it's super interesting like his like from his workouts and everything that he does. Like he tries to make sure he stimulates every single muscle in his body, the whole his like a whole stretching mobility protocol. I mean the guy is like super fascinating, and I'm so fascinated about everything that he does that I'm just on the start of analyzing everything to come up with my own conclusion.
He actually, so he spends $2 million a year on this,
Oh my
on him
bad.
on himself.
Yeah. Yeah. he's been developing this for the past couple years now, and he's just now coming out now with all of his findings and stuff.
Yeah. If what he looks like is the cost of anti-aging, I'm good.
You're okay with aging?
I'll age. I mean, I'm not. Listen, I don't think I'm anything special, but we're approaching fine wine status. So, yeah, if this is the cost, I'm good with not looking like Dracula.
Though, I think like if he just had a little bit of color to him, I think, and he maybe cut his hair, I think that he would be a better marketing tool than he already is.
Yeah, because he looks like Dracula,
Yeah.
like legitimately.
Yeah. Like I think like with like, the nice short haircut, and a little bit of color to himself, I think, he would it would look more like something like a program you would want to follow.
Yeah, there is a funny side by side here of him. I'm assuming it looks like a TED talk, so I'm assuming if he created Venmo, then this is his time as the founder of Venmo, and then compared to him now, after he's got like a ton of money, he looks completely different. It's another sign that you're not genetically not gifted or anything like that. You're just broke. But he does look way healthier. And what do you know? If you invest in yourself, you do look significantly better,
Yeah.
healthier,
Yeah.
I should say, because this dude definitely looks like a vampire.
For sure. And I think that's quite frankly like I don't know, he kind of like reminds me of Spock a little bit.
Yes, he does.
Right? Like I feel like, it's just unfortunate, right? But his philosophy and his supplements that he's taking, all of that, it is very interesting. Like every morning, like he wakes up drinking like this specific green juice with collagen and stuff in there, and amino complex and creatine, and like chlorella powder. Like I'm interested and intrigued in some of his recipes, and I'm gonna try some of these recipes out.
Yeah, I throw this guy in the same category that I throw the 5 people that went on Ocean Gate down to the Titanic. There are times where people get too bored and have too much money. Like it is a thing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely, right? Like this man clearly had like enough money that all he needed to do was just worry about like his health and his longevity and all of that. But yeah. Oh, here it says his monthly blueprint cost is $1,684.50. And that includes testing and supplements and food costs. Not sure if I buy that 100%, but
Yeah. You know the alien in have you ever seen the movie Aliens?
no.
Oh, well, you know the android guy that's in Star Trek?
Yeah,
He looks like him. He could play,
100%.
he could play him in a reboot. I actually just found something to fill his time since he has so much of it.
Hollywood is calling. They need him as an actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's
anyway, you're
wild.
welcome. You can check him out.
Yeah. That's wild. I think it's super funny that you see all the because I'm seeing a lot of things that are linked. It's super funny that you see all these people that it's like how I started to look and feel younger, and it's just you went from the average body style to an in shape body style, and it's like no shit. Welcome to the fitness industry.
Yeah. Also, too, like I think, like if you just eliminate like a bunch of like shit food from your diet, right? Like we talked about this a million times already. Like how much of that already improves the way you look, and then on top of that, you start working out. Wow, what a change it did to your life! You look so different.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, this guy's wild.
Yeah, I recommend checking it out. Here, I'm gonna send you this for your viewing pleasure.
Yo, he swaps blood with his teen son. That's
Yeah.
so this is where you get me like your harvest look at everything that we've talked about in this episode so far, like synthetic shit and like doing all that stuff. So like you just swap blood with you just run your kid's blood through your body. Like, come on.
But I will say, like, at least for his son, like good blood loss and then having to recreate your blood again in your system that is healthy. So, like for women, for instance, having like their monthly period is actually really healthy for them in terms of like, cycling through blood, which men don't get to have. That's why when women stop getting their period, it actually like, it ages them significantly because they no longer have this like rejuvenation process.
This dude eats his last meal of the day at 11 a.m.
Does he really? Where do you read this?
I'm just looking at all the headlines from Google. Yeah, he's trying to reverse his biological age to 18. Wow. His, uh, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, definitely stuff to look into. I mean, there's like a lot of information on this and a lot of like things to look into and stuff. And a lot of YouTubers now are doing videos with him and like emulating his lifestyle for a day or a time period just to see like how they feel. Um, I don't know. I'm sure there's honestly, here's the thing. Here's my opinion about it so far. There's clearly something to it because of how much data there is backing what he does. So there clearly is something to it. But does it have to be so extreme is the question. And does everything he do, this is everything that he does absolutely necessary?
Yeah, I wonder if what's it called? I wonder if yeah, from a couple of things on here said like his doctor said the results are minimal, but I guess he is saying there are results, so might be onto something. I wonder what his like strength metrics are though.
Here, hold on. Crap, where did it go? To the website that I sent you, if you click on fitness underneath his blueprint thing, it will tell you at least his workout routine, like your fitness scores.
Where'd you send it to my phone?
Oh, I guess so. I sent it to your messages. Yeah. Okay, so it says here fitness score, scoring equal to top 10% of 18-year-olds in the following: bench press single rep 240 pounds, VO2 max 58.7 milliliters per kilogram times minute, leg press single rep 800 pounds, push up continuous 60.
Yeah, bench press isn't bad.
Yeah, it's leg press isn't bad either, 800 pounds. But I don't
Yeah,
know, like, I don't know if, sorry.
I mean, I just to give you my where my brain's going right now. For if you look at him, he doesn't look like someone who could bench 225. But if he does, that's awesome. I had a double quarter pounder with cheese yesterday and a 6-piece nugget from McDonald's, and I benched 275. So have fun with your blood swapping, Megan Fox, with your weird helmet on. But no, that this is like obviously the guy like, is in great shape. His VO2 max is insane. Yeah, and he actually, I mean, if he eats like that and he's still able to bench that, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah. I don't know. Check it out. Continue to check it out. I think it's super fascinating. It's been something that, of course, like the more you look into his stuff, the more it's going to keep populating on your algorithms. But I don't want to call it like a current obsession of mine, but it's something I enjoy researching at the moment.
Hey, I respect it.
All right.
All right, so I think we're gonna wrap here. It's been a
Sounds
good
good.
welcome back for Sandra. Welcome back to the show and the United States of America.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been fun.
Yeah, so we'll catch up. Thanks for listening. Have a good one.
Bye.